Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you been following my previous video and you are here for the second part of the variable concept in programming, don't forget to like the video and share it to a wider audience so I should get like at least good amount of support. So today we are going to continue on the video we started on variable. This is the second part of it, and this is the last video on variable concept. After that, we'll move on to screen. So into this video, we're going to be looking at list, dictionary, and we're going to be looking at a concept called variable swapping. So we are going to implement variable using the data type list and dictionary. So the main goal here is to understand how we can create a variable and store these data types and store data. And we will understand more about how to use variable swapping in C Sharp. So with no time to waste, I'm going to get started with the implementation. So if you're a Python developer, you already know how to create a list. You have done this so many times. So I'll just do this and I'm going to give you uh the version of it in C Sharp. So to create a list, let's say I want to store the list of like maybe ages of people. I'll say ages is equal to 18, 21, 22, right? And like you have been watching from the previous video, I don't need to put any semicolon in Python. So I mean this is obvious. So how do you do this in C Sharp? So in C Sharp, there are actually two ways to implement a data structure to store the collection of items. And the C Sharp has something similar to Python called a list, and it has something called an array. So the difference between an array and a list is that array have fixed size, right? So the size of the array cannot be dynamically sort of like allocated. This the size is not flexible, right? But list can dynamically allocate like more space to store more item what the program is running. So I'm gonna show you how to implement array. Then we'll learn about Python list. We'll learn about C sharp list rather. So in an array though, you have to specify the data type, and in this case I want to store integer, opening and closing bracket, the name of the the data, the variable name, which is ages. So we say ages would be equal to in C sharp it is a curly bracket, or we'll say curly bracket, and we'll store 18, 21, and 20, or 22. So this is one way, and you can see that we can console the red line. We can console the red line. We can console the red line. The ages. If you want to look at the first item in the list, we can index 0, and you see it should print out 20. It should print out 18, which is the first item in the list. So yeah, it's taking a long time to run. Yeah. So this is the first way you can implement an array. The thing about array, because array has a fixed size, so like this, I cannot add anything to the array. The only thing I can do right now is I can resize the array, and I can increase the size of the array and add something at the end of it, which is not so efficient. Or maybe I can copy the array over to a new array with a bigger size. So another way that I use a lot is just specifying the amount of items you're gonna have in your array. I, I recommend array to you if you already know beforehand, if you understand the magnitude of the collections, you know how many items are going to be in it. Then it's good to use array. Then it kind of reduces memory. It kind of helps. It's kind of it's memory efficient, obviously, because you are reducing data. Like uh list, you are just dynamically allocating space, and sometimes like it takes out like unnecessary memory, to be honest. So I would say in ages of, I don't know, youth. But guys, I'm very bad at variable names, so I'm just trying to make sure I'm not giving the exact same name to that first variable before I have some error. So the way this works, you say in is equal to new int, then you specify the amount of item. Actually, we want three items. So this is another way you can implement uh array in C sharp. So this one, we are basically creating an array, giving a variable name to it, and the variable name is age of youth. And we are saying in this array we want to store three items. So we can just put the three items like that: 18, 21, and 22. And we'll end this with the same column. So there's something I should really say to you, because as a Python developer, we are so used to the fact that in Python I can come over there and do like print ages, print ages, and if I print ages, if you look over in the console, it print 18, 21, 22, just exactly the way you I created the ages list. For the case of C sharp, if you do that, they are not going to print it out like that. The only way you can print out the list of item that's in your array, you will need to write a for loop. And for this video, we are not doing any loop, but I'm just putting it out there. If we go to the loop part of this course, then we're going to learn how to do that. But I'm going to just prove it to you by console.readline ages. And if you check in the console, let's just wait, you see that it's going to tell you generically what data type you have and the sort of bit, right? So it tells you that we store uh in 32, which is basically 32 bits integer, right? This is all we can know. If we print out that ages, we are not going to get that list as we expect in Python. So that's something you have to understand when you start programming in C sharp as a Python developer. So our next data type is I'm going to implement list first before I go into like uh dictionary. So I'm all, if you're a Python developer, you want to know how to use list in C sharp, because obviously list is something that come very handy in Python, and I cannot trade list. It's just very important and kind of helpful. So C sharp also has list, but it just implemented differently. So if you want a list in C sharp, use a list and use an opening angle bracket, and you specify the data type, right? So this one is going to be storing int, and the name of the list would be, I'll call this ages, I don't know, I'll call this ages one, or maybe we call it new ages. I'm gonna give some meaningful name. List ages, how do you call it? So I'll say list ages first, so just take that. Is equal to new list, and we kind of like do that. So in our C sharp, we'll import something called system.collection.generic, and we'll use the using statement to do that. In Python, it will be an import statement. So it's a using system dot collections dot generic. We need that module to be able to implement list in C sharp. So just like that, we have already bring in the module in C sharp. So now we can sort of like populate that list with our item, which is basically 18, 21, and 22. Yeah, that is just so you know, lists have all Python C sharp list uh has all the different method in Python too, where you can add, remove. That difference, I think Python can have kind of more flexibility, but it has that. If we go to array meta concept as part of this long video series, you're gonna see that. But for now, also if you want to like index, it's the same way we index in Python. If you want to index a list, same thing, constant array line. They all index the same, to be honest. So if you can say list ages, you can index 0 from there, right? So that should give you list ages. So it should give you 18 because 18 is the first number in the list. So that's how it works, right? Consider right now 18 all list ages. So I think right now we have implemented list in C sharp, and I'm not going to be going into all those methods like or adding and removing items from the list. Later on, we're going to do this, like I said previously. So we're going to move on to our next concept, which is dictionary, and all those things they are just implemented the same. So before that though, we'll just come here over to Python and just do the dictionary. So if you're doing dictionary in Python, you say, let's say we want to store like the name of people and their ages. So I would say name and ages is equal to curly bracket. So I'll say key. So the good thing about Python list, this dictionary thing, it use key and value pair. So John 30 years old. I'll just throw two value in there. John said Peter 15 years old. So this is how you do a list. And it's the same thing. If you print a list in Python, they're gonna show you almost like a JSON. It's kind of nice. You're gonna see it. For me, I don't see how much. I mean, it kind of give Python a little bit of an edge in terms of debugging because for me, I'm not gonna lie to you. There's so many times I use Python and I'm doing debugging and the program is running under the hood and I'm able to see what's wrong within my list or my dictionary because I can literally print it out like this and it can give me the entire list like the way I create the list yet. And in C sharp, every now and then I'll have to write a loop, which is annoying to be honest, especially if the program is running in the background. So that's something good to mention about programming in Python. So in C sharp, if you want to implement a dictionary, the way it works, you start like this, right? Dictionary, like every single uh variable you create, you need to specify the data type of it. Like that's how it works. So this one is dictionary. The dictionary uh will be storing a screen and an int, right? The key will be a screen and the value will be int, and we'll call this name of ages, name and ages. So we're gonna set this to new dictionary, like that. Let me reduce this a little bit. new dictionary, and we're gonna have in there uh screen and an int, and basically now we can create that. I like to do it like this, opening curly braces, and in there we start with putting our dictionary. So now we can have the same thing with the key would be John, but now we don't use colon like in Python. Here is a command, and the value will be 30, and we'll do the same thing like that. Oh, this is a command too. It's not a call, and we'll come and say Peter 15. That's how it works. So that's how it works. John, Peter. So now uh we have a dictionary that have John and Peter still as the key, and the value is 30. Oh. So if you index this dictionary, like let's say in Python, the way we can like give the key to get the value, we can do the same thing in C sharp. So if I say John, it should give me 30, right? John, if I run this, I should be having 30. It's the same thing for Python. So if I come to the red line, John, console, the red line, uh, name, ages. Yeah, I wasn't typing. I didn't wanna. You can see that I didn't want to type that much long. Name, ages, and so like putting John, I should also get 30. So if you print this out, I think this it should definitely kind of print out 30 from there. I forgot to see my column, so spit out an error. I think my computer is kind of slow. I have a lot of things going on in the background that I forgot to like close. Then I start recording like videos. I was editing and stuff. And also I'm doing this on the browser, so that's like it makes sense. There's some processing going on and whatnot. But anyways, you can see the 30 there. If you index P there, you're gonna get 15 as you always do for dictionary. With that, I can also show you like the other way that we can create dictionary, which is you it's the same thing on this. Let me just copy this code over here because it's the same exact thing we're gonna do. Copy that code over here. And for this one, we'll just do it like this instead of having and we'll change that variable name because we don't you cannot have two variables having the same exact name. And this time, this thing is quite like handy to be honest. You can create a dictionary, maybe later on in your program, the same sort of declaration thing I was talking about. Later on in your program, you can say, oh, you can use I'm gonna use a method here actually. You can say name ages dot add. So this is a method from the dictionary class. And it allows you to add something. Maybe I want to add, obviously I want to add John 30 years of age. This is what I want to add to my dictionary. And if I come here and do name ages one, which is the new dictionary variable I just created, and I say John, it should give me 30 back. It takes a long time. Obviously, like I say, you guys, it's gonna be a lot more slow than normal, but that's fine. So with all of this, guys, I think this is the end of the two data types, list and dictionary. And we're gonna go to one of my favorite concepts in programming. I actually learned it in Python, and it's very important. At some point, if you're writing some algorithm, you want to understand if you can do this in variable to swap two variable. And I'll tell you one thing is you can do this in C sharp too. But the good thing is that in Python it's just very easy to do. So I'm gonna get rid of like all of these code, to be honest, like every single one of them, and we'll just implement that variable swapping just to make it a lot more cleaner. So I'm not using system the generic anymore, so I'm gonna get rid of that thing. Just get rid of it. The reason I had it up there is because I wanted to use that list and dictionary, and they are all in the system the generic module. So you can come over here and be like, okay, let's say I want to swap like these two variables. So I'll say A have a value of 100, B have a value of 150. I'm not going to put like semicolon. Obviously, I'm getting used to C sharp now. So the way you can swap in Python, you can say A comma B is equal to B comma A. Right? A comma B is equal to B comma A. This is how you swap in Python. And boom, we have automatically swapped the two variables. So you can print, if you print A, it should give you the value for B, which is 150, and vice versa. So print A, print B. So it should give me 150 and 100 in that order. In fact, yeah, it should give me 150 and 100 in that order. Yeah. So you can see in our console that the value for became 150 and B also turned to 100. So the value was swapped. The value got swapped. So now you'll be asking, how do you implement this in C sharp? So yeah, it's I found the last time when I just learned this, I was like, okay, but I realized it was quite important when I was like doing this algorithm called selection sort, where in selection sort you want to arrange the number of like from the least to the highest, which is basically ascending order. So in selection sort, you will have to swap. You have to compare the two numbers and see which one is greater, and you swap them. You compare them, which one is greater, and you swap them. Just doing it in C sharp, it just feels so good because you just use this line of code and you're just getting all of that done, right? I mean, there's more to it, but like I think the swapping part of it is just so cool. Okay, so how do you do swapping in C sharp? Swapping in C sharp, really, you are making use of the fact that in programming, if you store data in a variable, you are mapping it in memory somewhere in memory, and it have like an address. There's a whole discussion behind this, but you can read it in detail. But I just know that that is why this is possible, like based on my intuition, because we're going to have something called temporary variable, right? So let me do the same exact thing. So I'll say int a is equal to 100, int b is equal to 150, right? This is what we have in C sharp. In A equal to 100, in B is 1. Now, how do you swap? The way you're gonna swap is creating something called temporary variable, right? So you're gonna do something called like variable mapping, right? Basically. So I'm gonna create a new variable called int. This is gonna be the new A, right? And it's gonna be A. I'm gonna assign A. So what happened is that in memory, there's a new variable called new A, and it is mapped to A, which in A is having 100 stored in it. So we map this to A, and A basically is having 100. So this is going to be having 100 in it. So now that we have this temporary variable here, we can make use of this trick and we can swap them. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to say uh, B is equal to A. I'm going to say A is equal to B. Now I'm going to take the value of A and kind of swap it with B, right? I'm gonna say A is equal to B right now. And once I already swap them, then I can say B now is equal to that temporary variable. I can say B is equal to new A, right? This is how we swap in C sharp. So now it is swapped because now if you say A is equal to B, A become 150, right? And you say B is equal to new A become 100 because in this case new is this is this feel it for some reason it feels so logical. It feels mathematically like logical in the mathematical sense because it's like we are just moving variable back and forth. That kind of makes sense. So mathematically you can kind of see it. So if you new A is equal to A, so it's basically new A is A, but basically A is 100. So to improve that to you, we can say console dot red line and you print A, basically console dot red line will have B. So this should be printed in the reverse order. So obviously for A we're supposed to get 150, B we're supposed to get 100 because we swapped them just now. So let's wait and see what happened in the console. Right? A turns to 150, B turns to 100. So that's how you swap variable in C sharp. And this video is how we come to the end of this video. And I want you to stay tuned for the next part of this video series. We're gonna be going into screen. So we're gonna be learning a lot more of a screen, like screen concatenation, the screen method, or manipulating screen. There's so many things you can do with screen in Python. We're gonna learn about those things and we're gonna implement it in C sharp. So I'll see you in the next video.